Bulls are off and running. 6-2 start, one of the best records in the NBA. And if you've been watching the telecast, you know that Stacey King is hyped. I'll tell you what, I haven't heard you that excited in a number of years, my friend.
It's real good. I mean, they're fun to watch. They're exciting. I know Bulls Nation watching from preseason at first. You're probably saying, well, they're not playing anybody.
Yeah.
But when the regular season started, beating Utah, having an opportunity to beat the Knicks, at the very end of and didn't finish. Going into Boston, being down and coming back winning. I mean, those were huge wins. And I mean, if you haven't noticed, this team it plays with a certain swag about them. They play defense. They're never out of games. These games that are real close, they would have lost last year or the years before. They would have found some way to lose. But this time, like last night, being down, 18 points and thinking the game's over, no answer, for what the 76ers were doing early. Bulls came out cold, a little lackadaisical. The energy wasn't there. And then all of a sudden, something clicked. And you've seen it all year. Like this is a special team. I think they're going to do some special things.
This is episode 53 of Gimme the Hot Sauce. We're excited about what's going on with the Bulls and a lot of big stories going on nationally around the NBA. Our guy Timmy Whispers is with us. Whispers, what do you think about the way the Bulls are playing right now?
They're going to ruin somebody's season, that's for sure. I mean, I picked them for 51 wins and to do some
pat himself on the back.
Here we go. Here we go. Here we go, America. Here's Notre Dame. He picked them.
He did pick them third in the East.
He did pick them third in the East, and then he tried to have the audacity to tell me that I didn't say they were going to win 50 games. No, you didn't. You didn't say that. I was the only one that said it. No, you weren't the only one that said it. I'm on the Bulls bandwagon from the start.
Hey, trying to just put a post in the ground.
Oh, my God.
You're planting the flag already, right?
Yes, he is planting the flag.
Timmy Whispers out front of everybody.
Yes.
Hey, we want to say a special thank you to our sponsor, Jeff Vukovic and Nationwide Insurance. Vuk, of course, a great guy. If you have needs in any area, whether it's home, auto, or life, make sure you contact our guy, Jeff Vukovic. When it comes to insurance for your auto, home, and business, contact the king of insurance, Nationwide agent Jeff Vukovic at jeffvuk.com. That's jeffvuk.com. And, Stacey, the jingle is taking off. It's good every night.
You know what? I've started a phenomenon. Everybody is trying to get behind the jingle now. A lot of people thought it wasn't good. Oh, I don't like to sing. Now everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
So I'm
including your partner.
Well, you know what? He honestly, Adam Amin probably is the second best I've ever heard sing that. And first is me.
You upgraded him from Tito to Jermaine. That's a pretty big step,
he went
it?
from Randy Jackson, the youngest Jackson, to Tito, and now he's Jermaine. Because Jermaine is the second best singer of the Jackson 5. So I've elevated him number 2.
So let's hear it from the original Michael Jackson. The Nationwide jingle. Remember, Stacey.
Nationwide is on your side.
Oh, you can't do better than that. That's why Angry Orchard fueling the Golden Pipes.
Listen, that's why Michael and everybody else is Tito, Jermaine, Jackie, and Randy, and little baby Janet.
We want to thank Jeff for coming on board. He's with us through thick and thin, and we're excited about that. And we're looking forward to adding more sponsors as we grow here on Gimme the Hot Sauce, because as Stacey always says, he talks to America directly, nationwide.
America. Nationwide is on your side. And you know what I'm going to do with the Nationwide? Because people keep trying to get me to sing the part that Jill Scott sings. Mm-hmm. Okay, first of all, America, listen, all jokes aside, I got a great voice. Okay, but it's not Jill Scott. Okay,
and he's really humble.
Yeah,
too.
As an amateur, I got a pretty good voice, but Jill Scott's on another level. But I was watching her.
That album? Aren't you doing one this year?
You know what?
It's time for a Christmas album. A couple
listen.
carols, perhaps.
Whispers. Okay, don't get something started. Okay, all I'm going to say, America, is
I like the Christmas album. I do.
You know what?
Jingle bells, jingle bells. I can hear it now.
Oh, I can do those things. I can sing. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Frosty the Snowman. Stacey King Sriracha Christmas album. You know what? Hey, you know what? We've been known to create these things, these phenomenons. So nicknames, catchphrases, and a Christmas album. Think about how many people would buy me singing all these little Christmas favorites.
Pass the hot sauce and let's get jolly.
Yeah. Oh, look at Mark. We got to hire Mark as a PR guy.
2 bottles of hot sauce and 1 bottle of barbecue.
And she'll like it too.
Did you see my boy Frank? Frank, he just came out with another a new Genix commercial.
Frank Thomas.
And then when he looks into the camera and he hits that, she'll like it too. I mean, he kind of looks perverted. He kind of looks. I'm going to tell Frank, you're taking that role way too serious. That's a little creepy.
I had to look away.
Yeah, I was like, he's like, and she'll like it too. I'm like, okay, Frank, okay. So, but that's my boy though. Shout out to Frank Thomas, one of the greatest hitters of all time.
Back to the Nationwide jingle, we're talking about Adam, and he posted on Twitter that he was going to be singing it, and you could see as it was leading up to the moment, the flop sweat and the whole thing. He was a little bit nervous, right?
Yes. Honestly, we honestly thought maybe he was going to have an accident. I was asking him, did he have the astronaut diapers on? Because we had a long time before the game was over, so there was no way he's going to get up and go to the bathroom. But he was really worked up about it. I was really surprised because Adam is cool as a cucumber.
Yeah.
Like he goes at everything in stride. He knows hip hop references. Like we play off each other very, very well. And so to see him get a little nervous about the jingle, I laugh at it because for me, it's just me having a good time and me singing it, and I've been doing it for the longest. I can't even remember when I started singing. It's been that long, and seeing how it's caught on to like Steve Stone and Jason Benetti for the White Sox, and Cubs guys doing it. I don't know if Eddie Olczyk and those guys are doing it in hockey.
No.
I couldn't see Eddie doing that. That's a little too cool for Eddie. Eddie's too cool for that. But it's funny watching how it catches on. But to watch Adam. And I actually read the read. Normally he reads the read and I do
and you finish
it up. So I switched it. So I decided to read the read this time and let him sing it. And you could just see him over there. Like I thought his head was like scanners. He was going to explode at any second. And then he got up there and he did a great job.
He did.
Like most people who try to sing it, try to get the deep voice, nationwide. No, it's terrible. Now you got to have a little soul to it. Got to have a little sultry voice to it, because really, it's
he took it up an octave.
Yeah. Well, it's all about the ladies. Yeah. It's all about the ladies, our demographic is the women. For Adam, it used to be for Neil too. Neil used to have the 80-year-old women, grandmas. My demographic was like 28 to 45. That was my demo. And then Adam comes along, and Adam's now that he can sing and he's got a good voice. Yeah. He's falling into that boy band age group. So
12 to 18.
Yeah, 12 to 18. So it works out because Adam's a little guy. Somebody was teasing us the other day because like when we sit down, I'm 6'11" and he's like 5'6" or something, and there's such a contrast in the height, and they said we look like twins, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito. I didn't find that funny, but I saw
you can only raise your chair so much.
Yeah, you can, but we try to he's put some pads on it to make him look a little taller. Yesterday we had to do at the game in Philadelphia because we sit up so high. And so we had to stand up. And so that would look awkward. If I was standing up and he's down below me, I mean, you probably only saw his head because you would have been filming my waist up and you would just saw probably the top of his eyebrows. So he moved up a couple of notches. And so when we were doing the crossover last night with Jason Goff, Will Perdue, and Kendall Gill, we always have the last word in the crossover, and so we're able to sneak some little shots in at the guys, and so last night they tried to sneak a shot in. We'll try to sneak one in on Adam, talking about could we pan the camera back so people could see actually how tall Adam really was, because he was standing on 2 steps to make him look like we were almost eye to eye, and so he was trying to get America to look at Adam as like bringing the attention that Adam's a short guy, but we nixed that. We didn't let him see it.
There you go.
Let him see it.
Got to take control of the situation.
Yes, exactly. Never get caught off guard.
He's great with Greg Olson, though.
Oh, I'm telling you, man, Adam is one of the most talented people I ever worked with. I mean, this is a guy that can go from doing basketball to college football to NFL football and seamlessly. Women's basketball is called Women's Final Fours. Just a really talented young man. I mean, I knew right out the gate, we had some really talented people when we were bringing in. Mark was one of them. But we really had a lot of people come in and try to fill that role of Neil Funk. And I knew from the first day, this is the guy. Like I could just tell, it's just like when you're in a relationship with somebody and you first, go out and you just know, like you maybe have a feeling with that person that you didn't have a feeling with before.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He's like, that's the one. That's wife material.
Whisper's
right there.
a little skeptical over there.
Yeah.
He's not going to say anything.
No, he's not going to say anything.
He's sworn to secrecy. 31 years of abuse.
Yeah, 31 years of abuse.
He goes with the love at first bite.
Oh, see. You know what? Take the mic away from that guy. We're giving him a little bit more rope now. We got to take it away.
Well, anyway, we started all this out. We just want to thank Jeff Vukovich for coming on board as a lead sponsor here for Gimme the Hot Sauce, and we really appreciate everything he does. So make sure you turn to him for your insurance needs. And Stacey, the Bulls have been really, to me, a revelation. I know people have said, the early part of the season, the schedule wasn't that tough. Well, the schedule is really tough now. They were down by 19 in Boston to come back to win that game. And DeMar DeRozan, he's 32 years old. It's his 13th season in the NBA, but the guy is still elite, and he's in his prime.
Well, I mean, anybody who said that DeMar was done
doesn't know basketball.
They don't know basketball. Yeah. I mean, this is a guy, the DeMar that we're seeing right now was the DeMar in Toronto when he was an elite two guard in this league, and he's one of the best two guards in the league. Mm-hmm. This is the DeMar we got in year 13. And it's like he's playing with a chip on his shoulder to show people like, hey, look, y'all the people who wrote me off, who said this was a bad signing, I wouldn't be able to fit in here. You could tell that he's playing with a chip on his shoulder. Mm-hmm. And the one thing he's given the Bulls, and if you really look at how he's played in the regular season and in the preseason, is that he plays with extreme confidence in himself. Like, he knows his game. He knows where he's going to be on the floor. He knows where he's going to get his points. He's not forcing anything. And it's kind of becoming the natural closer for the Bulls. When all these other young guys are getting a little nervous, and you saw it in Toronto when they put a little press on the Bulls. Bulls were up like 18 or 20 points, and they came back and almost, stole the game at the end. It was DeMar DeRozan at the end of the game said, just give me the ball, get out the way, we're going to win this, and he's had a calming effect on Zach. It takes a lot of pressure off Zach because, last year, Mark, and you watched the games, Zach would have to do this for 3 quarters. He'd have, if Zach doesn't score in these games last year, we're getting blown out. We have no chance. And then in the fourth quarter, his numbers would go down, his efficiency numbers will go down because he's exhausted.
And he's getting double teamed.
And he's getting doubled and triple teamed because teams know if you cut the head of the snake off, the body will go too. So this year, there's so many different weapons. Not just DeMar. You've got, Lonzo Ball steps up and hits big shots. Vooch,
got to get Vooch going.
Yeah, Vooch has got to get going because he's got to be the third guy. He's got to be consistently, and I've said this all last year when we had Lowry out there. You had Zach, you had Kobe. You needed a third guy. And now you've upgraded in every one of those positions now. So, you have Kobe coming off the bench once he's healthy, but you got 2 of the most deadly wing scorers in the game today. I mean, you look at, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown in Boston. Well, we have that here with guards in Chicago. We have 2 of the best scoring guards. I think they're both in the top 10 in scoring. I think DeMar is 4th in the league in scoring. I think Zach's like 8th in the league in scoring.
Yeah, DeMar is at 27 a game right now.
Yes, 27 a game. I think Zach's like 25 a game. So when you have those type of numbers being put up by 2 guards that can attack you from anywhere on the floor, on most nights, you're going to have a chance to win. So this is where Vooch comes in.
You only had 4 in the game.
Well, and I'll tell you what, I mean, and I love Vooch. I thought Vooch to me, I think what's going to have to happen is his game's going to have to change a little bit. He's used to getting 20 and 10 every night. It might be 15 and 10. It might be 15 and 18 rebounds.
But you got to knock down those open shots because, they're playing pick and pop with him and Zach or him and DeMar, and he's getting open looks. He's just not making them. He's a 50% career shooter from the field. He's at 39% so far this year.
And if you look, Mark, he's starting to be at the 3-point line like Lowry was.
Yeah.
And then he's getting away from, being in the paint, scoring some easy buckets, which then opens up your outside game. The one thing that he does bring, even though he's struggling, it still forces you to have to guard him. Because, he's struggling shooting under 40%, but he's also capable, as we've seen in some of these games, hitting big shots when it really mattered for the Bulls to give them a chance to win games. It's just he's just got to find some kind of rhythm offensively and really mesh his talents with the other 2 guys because – Zach and DeMar are going to have the ball a lot. They're going to have high volume shots because they're going to have the ball in their hands the majority of the time.
And adjust to winning.
Well, yeah, exactly. And I mean, a lot of these guys like Zach and Vooch, they haven't been on winning teams. Vooch Vooch was in Philadelphia his rookie year when they beat us in the playoffs. But when he got traded to Orlando, they went to the playoffs, I think, one time. But it wasn't really a winning team. And so this is probably the best players that both him and Zach have ever played with. So it's an adjustment for them because, look at Zach last year. I mean, you got guys like, Archer Diacono, Felicio, all these guys who you're clearly better than. You're clearly better than. And so you don't have anyone behind you pushing you. This year they got people pushing them. Like, you got DeMar now. Billy can say, you know what, I'm going to, Zach doesn't have it tonight. I'm going to put DeMar out there, close the game for us. And we've seen DeMar now naturally kind of organically going into that closer role for the Bulls. And, he's welcoming that decision because he's not forcing his game onto the Bulls. He's letting his game come to him. And it's, very efficient. Look what he shot last night. Very efficient numbers.
Since we've come to you last, Patrick Williams went out with the shoulder injury, which is really terrible for the young man. I mean, he's a guy that's trying to find his niche, 20 years old. We've told you the whole story. Didn't start at Florida State and, started every game for the Bulls that he played last year. And he's just trying to find his way in a veteran group in a man's world. And now, of course, he's going to miss probably the entire regular season. You feel bad for Patrick, but in his absence, Derek Jones Jr., who was not in the rotation, has really impressed me. I mean, they called him airplane mode in Miami, former slam dunk champion, and some of the plays he can make quick off his feet, block shots, run the floor, finish with a dunk, really can lift the whole team.
Well, he's an energizer with his athleticism. He can block shots. He can rebound the basketball. He can get out in transition and run. I've been really surprised that he wasn't playing earlier. Mm-hmm. They went to Troy Brown Jr. earlier, and he got those early minutes. And, you got Javonte Green, who's another energizer guy off the bench. But I believe, he's playing out of position. You're asking a guard to play power forward.
Yeah, it's tough.
And I think, what Billy's going to have to do is reevaluate that a little bit. Even though Javonte, you're basically going four guards and one big, it hurts you rebounding wise. Even though he rebounds very well for a guard, but you throw Derek Jones out there, he's much bigger, much more athletic, gives you an opportunity to switch, and pick and rolls, and he's very bouncy. And when you got a guy like that, he's blocked shots. He had a block last night on Korkmaz. Korkmaz gave him a shot fake and went to the basket with his left hand and was clearly beating him off the dribble. He didn't quit on the play, and his athleticism allowed him to catch up and jump in the air and block this dude's shot and send it to like the third row. Huge block. And I think the more he plays, the more he gets familiar with Billy gets familiar with his game. And how it transcends with the starters, I think eventually you'll see him out there because you got to have size. The Bulls are, as much as they scrap and they get back in the games, late in the games, there's times on the court, they are small. They brought in Philadelphia last night, didn't get smaller when you brought in Drummond. Drummond came in. Right. Drummond is a premier rebounder. Okay, he was always leading the league in rebounders as a starter in Detroit. He's bounced around the last year and a half. He was in LA, and now he's with Philadelphia. But he's still a very good rebounder, and he got some rebounds last night. For Philadelphia, that gave them second chance opportunities, and we're trotting some smaller guys out there, and that could be a problem later on. Are we going to see Embiid 100 times? No. Are there some dominant bigs? There's not a lot of dominant bigs. Jokic in Denver in the West, you only see twice a year.
We saw Gobert last Saturday.
Gobert's really not a dominant center. He's a dominant defensive player, rim protector. And he'll get offensive rebounds because he's 7'2", 7'3", but there's really not a lot of dominant big guys. So I don't think the Bulls will have problems when it comes to, facing, teams like that. Where you're going to have problems, is when you face those 6'10", 6'11" dudes that can play out on the floor and actually do something, like a Kevin Durant who can actually, go one-on-one and take you off the bounce and score. So a LeBron James, or Anthony Davis, who are athletic bigs that they can go small and use him as a small center, and that could be problems for the Bulls.
And Tony Bradley's done a nice job since joining the rotation.
Yes.
He played some good defense on Drummond when they were matched up on the second unit. He's a guy that can protect the rim, block some shots. He's not going to score for you, but I think that the role that he's asked to play, he can be good in 12 to 15 minutes a night.
Well, Mark, if you talk to anybody that, any coach that he played for, Doc Rivers had nothing but high praise for him, last night in the press conference before the game. You had Quinn Snyder speak very highly of him. This kid hurt his ankle in the preseason, so no one really got a chance to see him, what he could do because he was hurt all preseason. Didn't even really get to practice that much. He came back the first start of the season, and now he looks healthy. What he does give you is a big that is mobile. They can actually get out on the pick and rolls and cover and recover. He had a play last night, and this is where I need my telestrator. I don't know what's going on with my telestrator on the road, but I need to get my posting machine back. So if the eye in the sky, Skynet, aka NBC Sports Chicago, if you listen to this podcast, can I get my telestrator back on the road, please? Because it's a teaching tool, and there's a teaching play last night with Tony Bradley that I wanted to draw up to show people the difference in pick and roll defense when he's out there compared to when Vooch is out there. When Vooch is out there, he's more into the drop coverage. He'll come up, but he doesn't come all the way up. And there was a play last night where I was going to draw on him where Shake Milton came off the pick and roll, and Vooch was playing drop coverage, and he's so far off that when Shake Milton comes off that screen, he basically is hitting an elbow jumper coming from the three-point line. When that screen is set at the three-point line, he's basically getting a layup. And NBA guards shooting an elbow jump shot is a layup in the NBA, okay? But when Tony Bradley came out there, and I think it was Seth Curry came off the screen, and he showed really big. Like, he literally showed his chest where Seth Curry went to turn the corner and ran right into him, which enabled the defender, I don't remember who was guarding him at the time, was able to get back and recover and get in front of Seth Curry, and then Bradley rotated all the way back to Embiid and didn't let Embiid get the 2-on-1 break on that.
You mentioned the Celtics earlier with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, and I tell you what, Marcus Smart really threw a hand grenade in the middle of the locker room by saying, well, the problem is everybody knows that they're the guys that are going to have the ball and they won't pass. And they had a team meeting, I guess, on the flight to Orlando the next day, which did not go particularly well. What kind of dynamic is that in a locker room when you have a team leader, a well-respected guy like Marcus Smart, basically saying these guys are for themselves?
Well, I mean, listen, he's, like you said, Mark, he's well respected. He's a guy that earned his stripes. He has a voice in the locker room with the way he plays and the battles that he's been in over the years. So he's well respected in that locker room. It's better coming from him than a player who only been there a year. No one's going to listen to that player. Yeah. You're going to listen to your older statesmen. You're going to listen to guys that have years in the league that you respect, and he's one of them. And depends on how the other two, Tatum and Brown, take it. Do you take it as a personal attack and get feelings about it, or do you say, hey, he's got a point? We got too talented of a team to be playing the way that we are. Here we are, 16, 18 points against the Bulls. We pretty much are doing whatever we want, and then we end up losing by 14. How does that happen? And he had a point on that. And but sometimes when you have a young team, and those two kids are young stars, they might take the approach like, hey, listen, you know what? You were 5 of 20. You really ain't got no reason to talk.
Yeah, why should I pass it to you?
Yeah, why should I pass you? You only made 3 shots out of 15, so they could take that approach, But I think what the problem is with them right now is you got a new coach, rookie coach, and he's trying to find his way. Udoka's trying to find his way as a head coach in Boston, and you have these two talented kids that you don't want to squelch their talent. You want them to play because every night those two guys are going to give you the best chance to win. But you've got to find some balance between the two. And one thing I did notice with them is when Tatum kind of got that Kobe mentality. Like, I'm not going to pass. I'm going to get mine. You guys are going to have to follow along. Jaylen Brown, I thought, got his points within the flow of the offense. Like, he came in that second quarter because they tried to stagger him. So when you have them both on the floor, they wasn't doing anything. It was all Tatum. And then Brown took a back seat.
You got him back in the game.
And then when we came back in the second quarter and made a run on him, they put him back in the game. They were down double digits when he came back in the game. I want to say probably 13.
Scored like 10 in a row.
Yeah, he scored like 10 in a row. And they were all threes.
Right.
He hit them within the flow of the offense. And what they're going to have to do is make a decision. Like, they're either going to have to learn how to play with one another, or, someone's going to have to, they're going to have to come off the bench. One of them's going to have to come off the bench, because that's when they played the best, when they were both all, one was on the floor and one was off. And I think Tatum, there's a power struggle. I think Tatum thinks it's his team, and I think Brown thinks it's his team. And then you got guys who are just watching. I thought Dennis Schroeder, they have talent. I mean, I thought Horford played well for them. They've got some talent. This is a team that should make the playoffs easily. This shouldn't be a team that's getting in a play-in game at the end of the year. They have enough talent to be somewhere, from 4 on down in the playoff race. But they're too talented. They got too much talent.
So keep an eye on the Boston Celtics. They've already lost a couple of overtime games this year that they should have won. They blew the 19-point lead against the Bulls. They have a losing record right now. So keep an eye on what's going on in Beantown. And speaking of unhappy stars, your old teammate Scottie Pippen made headlines this week, trying to promote a book that he's releasing, a new book about his take on the whole Bulls situation and the Last Dance documentary. And Scottie is just incredibly bitter about the way he was portrayed in The Last Dance. And the quotes or the excerpts from the book that made the social media was about the fact that, he said that Michael could not be more condescending if he tried, and that, we all tried, meaning teammates tried to do everything to promote him and his beloved brand. And Scottie, whatever his motives were, obviously he's trying to sell the book, but he comes across as bitter and angry for reasons that are hard for me to comprehend. You played with Scottie, and I know that so many ex-Bulls say he was one of their favorite teammates, but he's not presenting himself well with the way he's doing it right now.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, listen, I'm always going to ride or die with Pip. He's one of the best teammates I ever played with. I have no bad ill willings towards him at all. Because, I mean, if I had to go in an alley or be in a foxhole, he'd be one guy would be in there. Yeah. Paxson would be one. Bill Carver would be one. Bobby Hansen. Those guys I would have no problem being in a foxhole. Tank Williams, Horace Grant. I mean, Craig Hodges. I can name a whole bunch of people off that team. And there are some of the people I would want to be in a foxhole with. So I'm not going to even.
Don't mention that. Don't mention
names.
That.
But for Scottie, I understand the way he felt, because watching The Last Dance, he was portrayed pretty bad in that. Like, for instance, the 1.8 second thing that happened before MJ came back. That had nothing to do with The Last Dance, had nothing to do with MJ. There was no need to revisit that. I think
it's almost like a cheap shot.
Yeah, it's a cheap shot. And then the situation of being, Scottie not coming back because he, having the surgery and sitting out, and he should have had the surgery in the summer, and he put his, it was portrayed that he put his own selfish needs in front of the team, which also made him look bad. And that had nothing to do with his teammates. It had nothing to do like, I'm not playing with you guys suck, or it had more to do with management. Like his stance was against management. Like Scottie always felt he was underpaid. Scottie always felt he should be one of the top 5 players, paid. But as if you know anything about the Bulls' history, no one's going to make more money than Michael Jordan, period. When, Michael was grossly underpaid when he played the first time around, when we won our first 3 championships. I mean, there was guys getting way more money than he was on other teams. I mean, Larry Johnson, who had only been in the league maybe 2 years at the time, signed an $84 million deal. There was way more than what Michael was making. Yep. Michael would never go, and I will say this about Michael. Michael would never go to the press or to the media to say he's grossly underpaid. So how could you when you make $100 million off the court? You're wearing Hanes underwear and you're making $100 million. You're
McDonald's,
drinking Gatorade,
Coca-Cola.
So you would look greedy if you started complaining about. And he had beef. He had a legit beef. He could have said that, like, hey, my off the court stuff has nothing to do with my on court performance. If I'm the best player in the game, I should be paid like the best player in the game. And so his first years, and one thing about the Bulls, once you sign a contract, you honor that contract. And
Jerry
Reinsdorf, why wouldn't you be? If you say, and Jerry told Scottie not to sign the contract because there was going to be more money coming in through the TV deal or whatever. Jerry was privileged to that information. He told Scottie not to sign it. And Scottie wanted, from what I understand, because I wasn't in the room and I'm not Scottie's agent, from what I understood was Scottie wanted security because of his back injuries and stuff that he was facing going in later in his career. He took the opportunity for security, which most people might do, because a bird in the hand beats 2 in the bush. But once you sign that contract and you put your name on that, it's a done deal. You can't go in there and say, I want to renegotiate. I want to change my deal. It can't happen that way. And, what he should have probably did was listen to Jerry and waited, and he would have probably got the deal that he wanted to get. And, and for him to take, and like I said, I love Pip, and Pip wears his heart on his sleeve. He wears his heart on his sleeve, and that's what makes Scottie Scottie. But at the end of the day, you can't come back with a machine gun and hit innocent people. There's a lot of innocent people. Your anger is at certain people, then that gun should be pointed at those people.
Well, it's a hard life lesson. It's knowing the price of everything, the value of nothing. And what he forgets is the fan base absolutely adores and loves him to pieces. And he can never lose that. And he forgets to take advantage of that. And he focuses on the bitterness of just a simple documentary.
Well, Scottie, throughout his career, just knowing his working in the media, he was always unhappy about something. Stacey mentioned his contract. He always felt like he was underpaid, that he'd been taken advantage of, even though Jerry Reinsdorf famously told him, don't sign it because it'll be under market in a year or so. And, I think he chafed at the fact that he didn't get enough credit for the championships and all the adulation that was given to Michael. One of the things that he said in his media blitz this week was that I talked to a bunch of my ex-teammates and they feel the same way. Did Scottie express that to you, that he was unhappy with the way he was portrayed in the last dance?
I talked to him. I talked to Horace, and of course they didn't like the way they were portrayed. I mean, when you're doing a documentary, about that championship team and what they were going through their last year, that should have been a little bit more on a positive note, because to win 6 championships in 8 years, Scottie was a big reason why the Bulls won those championships, okay? In his mind, he doesn't get enough credit. But for the people who play with him, his peers and guys he played against, everyone knows how important he was. He would not been on the top 50 players of all time. He would not be on the top 75 players of all time if people didn't recognize what he did on that team and how special a player he really was. But I think in Scottie's mind, that's not enough. I know my boys, all the guys I play with know what I did, But I think there's something missing as far as the national accolades. Because I always say this. Everybody wants to be Batman. Some people take the role as Robin, but nobody wants to be Alfred, that third guy. But in Scottie's case, Scottie feels like he's Batman. I'm Batman. And he showed when Michael left, he was a number one guy. He was a number one guy that could take a team.
Was that 55 wins that year?
Yeah, 55
MVP
wins,
of the
MVP of the All-Star game, amongst other stars. And then on top of that, one bad call away from advancing and beating the Knicks, from Hugh Holland's, phantom call on Hubert Davis. And if had that call not happened, the Bulls win that, and no telling if they get to the finals and play Houston without MJ. So, he proved that he's a number one guy. And I'm telling you, I played with the guy. I remember in the championship series, and since MJ wanted to put in, all these things about Scottie, that weren't in the last dance, the 1.8 seconds, then you should have put in what happened in that first championship when you couldn't guard Magic Johnson and Magic was eating you up and telling Phil that he was too small. He's too small for me. And then Phil making that adjustment and putting Scottie on Magic, which turned the whole complexion of the series around, because that's why we lost in game 1, because Magic was killing MJ. Was killing because of the size. And so we put Scottie on that chain. They didn't win another. That was it after that. It was Sweep City after that. But we made that change. And then all of a sudden, boom, 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 that changed the whole complexion of the game. And if you're really going to put in the negative things, why not put in the positive things? But that wouldn't have made MJ look good if you put that in there, that we had to make that change or we might not have won that series. You know what I'm saying? So if you're going to do all that, and you got to really show how Scottie was important to the championship years, because that was the Bulls. That was our first championship. And had Phil, not, felt the pressure, and said, no, we got to stay with MJ on it. MJ's got to guard the best player, because MJ was at that time in his position the number one defensive guard in the league. But when you're going up against the 6'9" Magic Johnson, he was overwhelmed by that. I mean, there was nothing MJ could do. So when you put Scottie on him, who has length, who's athletic and quick, and can stay in front of him and really disrupt his passing angles, that changed the whole series. And that's why I think Scottie was upset about. You in his eyes, you're telling all the dirt. You're showing all the negative things that happened during that. Me being selfish and putting myself in front of the team. I get why he says that. And I think everyone who played with him understands that. I think the public doesn't understand that. I think
time for his documentary.
Well, I mean, listen, I mean, at the end of the day, that was the way Michael looked at those last three championships. That was Michael's narrative. Because a documentary is pretty much, when you see documentaries, it's someone else's opinion of what went on. Like to say, cameraman that followed them all year long, an award-winning journalist, following the Bulls, not the player's perspective. That's more of an autobiography. I mean, that's kind of what that is. If you're telling it your point of view and how things happened and the way you saw things, Scottie didn't see it the same way. Horace didn't see it the same way. Guys didn't see it the same way. The MJ says. So I think that's where the problem, the disconnect happened there.
One of the things that came out during the Last Dance documentary was the story of Scottie growing up poor in Arkansas in a huge family, and his father being handicapped and a rough childhood that he had. And it seems like that kind of has scarred Scottie throughout his life, and he seems to always go back to dollars and cents at times. And one of the things, I have not seen an advanced copy of the book, so I don't know exactly how it's written in the book, but it was written that he was unhappy with the organization for not offering him a meaningful role in retirement. He came back, he played one season with the Bulls when he was hurt and didn't really get too much on the court. But you remember after the dynasty broke up, they worked to sign and trade to Houston. He got a lot of money on the way out, and the Bulls organization took care of him. They brought him back, gave him like a $10 million golden parachute for 2 years when he only played, half of one season. And yet he's still angry at the organization for not giving him a role in the front office.
Well, and they put him in a situation where he's an ambassador, and they were paying him to be an ambassador, where he was making a lot of money just coming in, every so often flying in, saying, shaking some hands here and there. And he got paid handsomely for that. The Bulls, listen, you can say whatever you want to about the Bulls. They take care of their former players. They do. They do. They do a good job. But Jerry is very loyal to guys that play for this organization. And, I think Scottie, in his eyes, we don't know what he sees. You know what I'm saying? I only know what I see, and you only know what you see. So that's how we judge things. Scottie's vision may be totally different and how he sees things, being in the front office. Well, if you're going to be in the front office, think about all the guys, former players who are in the front office, Mark. You look at guys in the front office, they're at every game. They're sitting there scouting, taking notes. They're going on
traveling
road trips.
Around the country
all
scouting.
over. Exactly. Those are the things you have to do to be in that position. And I'm not saying Scottie didn't do that or he wasn't willing to do that, but, Scottie really doesn't want to do all that. Scottie has a life. He does endorsements outside of this. There's things that he likes to do other than just be around basketball all day. So you also got to put that in consideration. If you're a lifer, a guy who's a lifelong basketball player or a lifelong basketball junkie, you're working 365, 24/7. Tom Thibodeau, 30-something years before he got a chance to be a head coach, a lifer in this game. Stan Van Gundy. I was in Miami when Stan Van Gundy was like a part-time assistant and was running around like a ball boy, getting loose balls, diving on the floor, living in his car because Pat Riley, his assistants worked like triply hard. Like Stan, you go in Stan's car, it looked like it was an apartment building. He had clothes in there. He had food, bags of food. He lived in his car and he was always at work. These guys are lifers. These guys put in the time and the energy because they want to be at one point ascend to be somewhere in the organization, someone's organization. So you got to put the time in. And Scottie, Scotty's got things he's doing. Scottie's, he's got kids. He wants to see his kids play. He's living out in California. His wife's in, the Real Housewives of Miami. And so there's a lot of Hollywood stuff going on. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that really kept him from really focusing in on that. And you can't blame the Bulls. I mean, listen, you got to call a spade a spade. You got to put the time in, the energy. He went after Pax. I saw some excerpts. He went after Pax. Pax is one of the coolest dudes ever. Like to go after Pax, man.
He's been on the show.
Yeah, to go after John Paxson. You can say whatever you want to say about John as a GM. Okay, and you can, he was a terrible GM, blah, 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 blah. No, he wasn't. He made some very good decisions. He got some really good players in here. But to attack John as a person, that's not cool. I would never go and say anything derogatory about a teammate. You know, especially guys that you went to battle with that had your back, you had their back. If you got a disagreement with Pax, you know, that's something you go behind closed doors and say, hey, look, man, I don't like XYZ, boom, boom, boom. You don't kind of throw him under the bus. He kind of threw Pax under the bus, which kind of surprised a lot of us because Pax is not a guy you throw up under the bus because he's a guy that's a straight shooter, and he's always got your back. And to see that happen, that was disappointing. But I understand trying to sell your book, trying to sell your alcohol, trying to sell your popcorn snacks, all the stuff that he's doing on the side. There's nothing wrong with that. But you got to also remember, you know, the things that you're saying can affect a lot of people. You know, to call Phil Jackson a racist, you know, listen, Phil's a lot of things. Phil's a jerk, could be an ass, could be very difficult, weird. You know, you could give Phil a lot of different tags. And I had my problems with Phil. I mean, there's been plenty of times.
That's because you elbowed him in the throat during your
you know
workout.
What? And there's been, I took him down because I thought it was Corzine. But listen, I mean, Scott Williams had problems with Phil. I had problems with Phil. But the one thing you would never hear me say that Phil was a racist, because Phil was not a racist. Phil's a lot of things, but he's not a racist. And, you know, to hear Scottie say that, you know, again, that was, you know, I know he's trying to sell a book, and that was kind of disappointing because, like, that can affect someone. That especially in this day and age, saying those kind of things, those words have such an impact now with what's going on in this country with the version of you know, black and white. There's no place for that. And if you felt that, that's something you should have told Phil directly and called him in the office and say that. But that was never said.
Should we ask Marc Brady? He's waiting patiently in the
Sriracha waiting room.
First of all, you don't interrupt me, Tim. And we're giving you a little bit, you know, whispers. You're not whispering anymore. You actually have a voice. Ever since Kendra Lust came on last week, you know, you're starting to talk a little bit more now. I like that.
She gave me a little extra testosterone. That's just what I'm saying.
Oh my God! Extra tea. A little extra tea. Oh my goodness! All right, let's get our next guest on. Marc Brady.
He's one of Frank Thomas's biggest clients.
Yeah.
And she'll like it too.
Yeah, and he's got a whole bottle of Nugenics.
Yeah, we're getting ready to bring in the producer for Bulls basketball and NBC Sports Chicago. Marc Brady is waiting in the boom boom room, as we like to say now. Before we wrap up the talk, though, the one thing about coaching and the fact that all the hard work and maybe why Pip didn't want to do it. Joakim Noah, during his ceremony last week, was asked, would you ever want to be a coach? He goes, hell no. That's way too much work. I don't live that kind of life.
Yes,
so, you know?
and I'm telling you, Mark, that's what a majority of players think. They would rather go into the front office than coach because you have to deal with a lot of egos. Yeah. You have to deal with guys just being total assholes. Like, you know, guys not, you know, wanting to work out. Guys not, you know, coming in with excuses to practice. See, when I coached in the minor leagues in the CBA, and, you know, I was a player's coach. You know, I wanted guys to play the way I wanted to play. You know, don't worry about getting pulled out. You know, if you hear the horn, don't turn over your shoulder looking if you're coming out or not. Just play free. And, you know, but my only request with players is to play hard. You know, and play hard for your teammates. And if you didn't play hard, I'm not going to pull you out for missing shots. I'm going to pull you out because you're not hustling and playing defense. And there's been a couple of times, man, where I almost had a Norm Van Leer, a couple of guys at halftime. You know, Norm Van Leer's been known to fight his team, you know.
That's true.
And seriously, sometimes you run across these kids who have egos who, you know, and I was still young at the time. I was like, you know, in my late 30s. And, you know, you run across some little punk kid that, you know, has got the nerve to say something. He's never even been at the pro level. He's not even close to sniffing the NBA, and you're trying to help him, and then all of a sudden he got something smart to say, and then I'm about ready to give a Norm Van Leer 2-piece without the biscuit. You know, I've been known to do it, Mark. You know, I've been known to do it.
And the pro move is when you see your sub coming to the scores table, you jack up a shot from 30, right?
Oh, yeah, exactly. You look over the corner, it's like, Will Produce coming in? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to take a 3.
I got to get one for me.
I'm going to take a 3. I'm going to get mine right now, baby. I'm sorry, Phil. Don't you shoot that. Oh, don't take me out. I'm pulling up, baby, from half court, Steph Curry range.
Words to live by for all the young players out there. Hey, coming up next, we're going to share some stories with Marc Brady, who's been producing Bulls basketball, did it for a long time at WGN. Now he's over at NBC Sports Chicago. He joins us next on Give Me the Hot Sauce. Yeah.
Oh, I'm in the disco, baby.
Dance jam.
Oh, DJ Pavel.
Pump up the jam.
Oh, yeah. DJ Pavel, baby. Our Russian DJ. Woo.
We are back, episode 53 of Give Me the Hot Sauce. We want to welcome in our special guest who's been very patient, waiting in the Sriracha Boom Boom room as we were going on about Scottie Pippen. Marc Brady, you know the whole Scottie Pippen story. You've been around the Chicago media market for a long time. What did you think of all the stuff you saw with Scottie this week?
I think Scottie might have lost his mind. Actually. I know he wants to sell that liquor and some popcorn and other things, but this is Chicago, and that's Michael. So just step back.
There's a strong opinion right off the bat. And
yes.
As you mentioned, Marc worked, he's been in the Chicago media market for a long time, producing with WGN and now with NBC Sports Chicago. You've done baseball, you've done basketball, and now you're working with the King on a regular basis. What's it like day to day working with our guy, Stacey King?
No day is the same. No day is the same. Every day, it's something that surprised me. I'll say something in his ear, and it'll be on the air, and it's not what I said in his ear. But I like what he said.
Yeah, he's like a ventriloquist. Like, he's behind the scenes, and his job is very difficult. America, this is the guy behind the scenes that makes myself and Adam look good. Tamara Anderson, shout out to Brown Sugar. That's her nickname, America. That's not a stage name. That's her nickname.
Careful now.
And we got Russ. My man Russ. He really should be called Russ Whispers because he barely ever talks. And he should wear a Jason mask or a Halloween mask because that's sometimes he's a big dude. He's scary looking.
Is. Yeah.
When I first met him, I was like, God, this dude, like he would just come in with a knife and just start butchering us all. Don't make him mad, baby. But we got a good team.
Grim Reaper.
Yeah, Grim Reaper. We got Mark Harper. Mark Harper does a good job. We got a really good, small, close-knit team. We travel together. We do a lot of stuff together. Mark, give him a little insight of what a day consists of when you get to the arena and what you have to do. Let the listeners know, what you do as a producer.
Well, an easy way would be just preparing for our upcoming game. I start thinking about Saturday's game the minute last night's game ended. So I start preparing, looking at things that we might want to talk about again. I call you, I talk to Tamara, we start throwing ideas out there. And then by game day, we have a plan set up. I get to the truck around 1 o'clock for a 7 o'clock game. And when I get there, I pretty much am doling out, this is what we need, this is what we need, this is what we need from different people. And then I go sit in the corner and watch them all work. Then around 4 o'clock, I have a meeting with the studio and make sure we're all on the same page. Then around 6 o'clock, I have a nice sit down with Stacey King and Adam Amin, and we prepare for the game, and we talk about to see if there's anything else that's come up. And then right around 6:40, we get prepared to start doing the show. And 7 o'clock, we're live on the air.
Yeah, we talked about Adam getting a chance to sing the Nationwide jingle last game. He was a little bit nervous about that, wasn't he?
I've never seen Adam so nervous in my life. Like, he's called championship games. He's done everything. And this man, right before we got ready to do it, it looked like he was getting ready to go show his report card to his dad. I was like, what is going on? He was terrified. But I thought he did a great job. And I think I like how Stacey put him out there.
Yeah, you know what? I've had a lot of people. Some people have tried to force their way on stage and take the mic from me, and that was a bad idea. And then there's other people I've allowed to have the microphone for just a couple of seconds. Once I realized they were terrible, I took the mic away from them, and I finished it off. So with Adam, I said, you know what? I'm going to let Adam do it, because I've heard Jason Benetti, and I've heard, Steve Stone, and I've heard a lot of these guys here in the city do it. And so I wanted to give Adam a fair share. And you know what? I was pleasantly surprised. I didn't take the mic from him. I didn't interfere. I just let him sing it. It was awesome.
He earned it.
He earned it.
Mark, your first year producing the Bulls games at NBC Sports Chicago was Neil Funk's last year, and that's when they were still doing the parade of candidates marching in. And yes, I worked one game with you in Detroit. I remember, the team flies on the charter, and I was just kind of joining them in midstream, so I had to fly into Detroit. And, I see you in the lunchroom, and I'm like, well, so what are we doing? And you said, well, don't worry about it. It'll be fine. And it was fine. But he said, just be yourself and don't worry about it. I'm like, well, what about all the commercial reads and everything else? And I know that was one of the things that Neil hated too.
Neil hated
commercial
it.
reads.
Oh man, Mr. Personality. No, he hated that, man. He'd always like, let Stacey read it. Let Stacey read it. I mean, I honestly, I used to say, I like to read them, but man, when you start reading like 20. Like your voice, your throat starts to hurt. I'm like, man, I might have to start smoking cigarettes and get that Johnny Most voice. That's how it's going to sound before the year ends.
But that had to be tough as a producer, though, with all these different people coming in from different perspectives and coming in with their own way of wanting to do a game, and yet you're trying to produce a consistent product. How big of a challenge was that?
To be honest with you, just between us, it's not brain surgery. So I like to make it sound way more difficult than it is, but it's still a basketball game. And what happens on the court is still going to dictate what we're doing. And I enjoy working with a lot of different people. Like it made the job, every day was fresh and new. And then you find people you like to work with more. Like I love doing the game with you, Mark.
We had a good time. Detroit was a lot of fun.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
You were a part of the Cubs. You were out there during the championship year. That had to be an amazing experience. What was it like to chronicle that team as it was marching towards a championship? And I remember Anthony Rizzo saying we boat raced to that title, and it was kind of a march where it was almost a coronation until they got down 3-1 in the World Series.
I will tell you this. I find the seasons before you're a great team to be the way more fun. Like this year's Bulls team, not knowing what's going to happen, is that Cubs team, after about 2 weeks in, we were like, okay, this team's probably going to win. But when you have a team that you don't know what it's going to do, and every day is oh wow, we just beat Utah. Oh my God, we just beat. To me, I enjoy that way more. That was way more fun to me the season before when the Cubs weren't supposed to be good, and all of a sudden they were in the playoffs and they beat St. Louis. But the actual championship season was all pressure. It felt like to me, like, oh, now if we don't win, it's a letdown. So it was amazing. After seeing 6 championships with the Bulls and doing 3 years of Blackhawks champions, Stanley Cups, it wasn't any bigger. Everybody said that the Cubs winning would be the biggest thing ever in Chicago. It was big, but 6 championships still outweighs 1.
Yeah. So yeah, Mark, speaking of that, because you've done everything. You've done hockey, baseball, you've done some college games, and you do the Bulls games. I know basketball is your favorite sport. I know that. So, and that's awesome. Tell the listeners about your experiences during the championship years, because, you're there, you're behind the scenes, you're working with the great Johnny Red Kerr, Tom Dorr, you're working with, Jim Durham. All these great Wayne Larrivee, all these, iconic figures, give us a little behind the scenes, what it was like working with those guys and then working with that team during the championship years.
Well, I was the stage manager for the Bulls in '93. Now, I remember my first day, they called me in. Somebody couldn't come to work. And they said, hey, Mark, can you go down to United Center? It wasn't United Center, the old Chicago Stadium. And they said, you're going to be handing papers to Johnny Kerr and Tom Dorr, and you'll be also cueing when the anthem should start. And the Bulls were playing Portland. It was the year after they beat Portland the first time. Now, I remember sitting there at half court. Michael comes over, does his dust off. He does it to Johnny, but I'm standing next to him, so he does it to me. And I remember at the end of the game, somebody said, hey, you got to fill out your paperwork to get paid. And I was like, oh, I get paid for this. This is crazy. Yeah, okay, this is nuts. This is nuts. And then all the different times of just being a 24-year-old and seeing like every hero you ever thought you could see. You're like, oh, there's Michael. First of all, this is Michael walking into a room. There's never been anybody more charismatic than Michael Jordan in basketball. When he walks in a room, things get different. So just to be in that aura when you would see Mike, the one night when Mike might have got lit up by somebody and he shows up for shoot around and everybody's just sitting there watching Mike shoot around at 5:00. And then to work with Johnny Kerr, I was a kid watching Johnny Kerr. So just Johnny Kerr was like a legend before I met him, and then just to work with him, and then he became bigger with the Bulls winning more championships. But the behind the scenes of that whole situation was like following the Beatles. I remember getting off the bus and just having people stare at me because I was with them. I traveled with Sammy Sosa. That was a lot like it. When Sammy Sosa was at his peak, we would get off the bus and people would just be waiting and just trying to touch. But nothing would be like that era of the Chicago Bulls. I'm sorry. It was just before Twitter, before Facebook, before all that. You had 5 channels to watch, and they were on. And when they were on, you watched. We saw in the pandemic, The Last Dance made people come together. It was like literally appointment television because we all had a chance to relive those days.
Yeah, I lived it too. I mean, I was part of the Beatles, and I remember. I tell people all the time, like, this generation of players. I can only go by what we see here in Chicago. When we get off a plane here, and then we go to a hotel, you might see before the pandemic, you'd be lucky if you saw 10 people standing there waiting to get autographs. You know, when we rolled into town, it was literally like a rock band. There'd be, I'm talking 500 to like 1,000 people, like. And that's when you used to go in the hotel. See, now you got security. If you're not staying in the hotel, you can't go in. But back in those days, like, people would actually be in the hotel. So when you walked in, you know, being a young kid, like 21, 22 years old, it was like going into a candy store. Like, you'd be seeing all these like 10s, like model girls, like all just beautiful, beautiful girls from all different walks of life. And you just go in there and you go, room 1224.
Oh my goodness!
Wow! I just threw the fish hook out there. I mean, seriously, 21 years old.
I won't lie. At one point, I remember I told someone I was BJ Armstrong. I was like, how well do you know basketball? Not that well. I'm BJ.
Yeah, I used to like, we used to go in and we'd be like, when they'd have parties for us. You know, we'd come into a city and like, oh, Michael Jordan, the Bulls would come in, and then they'd have a party for the Bulls, and that was the night we used to stay the night because we used to fly commercial, and so we'd go to these nice cities, it could be LA or whatever, and they block off parties for us, and then there'd be all these girls, like, you know, me and BJ would just kind of sneak in. We just kind of floating in like sharks, you know, trying to catch a little bit of some seal over here that might have been bitten, and we want to get that, you know what I'm saying? Because, you know, MJ the older players couldn't have everybody, right? So everybody can't go home. So that's how we played it. So me and BJ would always walk up to him and say, "Hey, look, you know, what are the chances of you getting with Scottie? Come on, what are the chances you get with Michael? Come on. Hey, listen, we're 21 years old. You can get with us. Come on with us." and
the king still smooth.
Hey, lo and behold.
Like butterscotch pudding. I thought college was bad. Like, when I was in college, I thought high school was bad because, like, you know, you had girls after you in high school, you know, but it wasn't like it was in college. When I got to college, I was getting the old Polaroids of, like, you know, girls sending pictures on the Polaroid. America, I can't tell you what they were sending, but you can imagine the pictures you were getting. Polaroid, America. They were really nice. They were birthday suits. Anyway, I thought that couldn't get any better. And then I got to the pro game. I was like, oh, Lord, it's like Willy Wonka. I want a golden ticket, baby. Oh, Lord, where's the chocolate fountain? Oh, over there. I can lick the wall. There's blueberry and raspberry. Oh, Lord, America, flashbacks right now. I'm sweating right now. It's hot in here. Oh, let's get back to the interview. I'm sorry, America. I got off track for a second. I'm sorry. Brady, see, this is what you do to me. You make me reminisce about going down memory lane. Yes. I got to get back on track. Let's get back to our serious face now.
Stacey done losing his mind.
Oh, yes. I done lost my mind. It's gone.
Oh, my goodness. Hey, you work with...
part of being a producer. Part of being a producer is to put words in Stacey's mouth and then deal with it later.
No, but seriously, though, like, we have such a good time. Like, you know, it doesn't even feel like a job. Like, you know, seriously, Brady comes up, you know, Brady's, first of all, is easy going. Like, okay, this is what we're going to do. What do you think about this? Yada, yada, yada. If I don't like it and say, let's change it, he'll change it. There's no argument, you know, and we travel with a small group. It's not like we travel with 100 people. And so we all have relationships outside of, it's not just work.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We're all friends. And, you know, Brady's been doing, you know, he's been doing this for a while with me. So this is my 16th year. And, you know, Brady, before it was WG, and it was Comcast, and they had 2 different entities.
Exactly.
And, you know, I always enjoyed working with Brady because I was like, man, Brady's fun as hell. Like, and he'll say funny things in your ear, and you have to be careful because, you know, sometimes you'll get locked into what he says and you may blurt that out. You know what I'm saying? So I've learned I have to have like a filter with Brady because Brady be saying some stuff.
It's like broadcast news. You know,
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Just like, what is Ron Burgundy? You know, yeah. You know, you supposed to be saying something and you saying something that someone's telling you what to say. So you got to be careful with Brady because he be sneaking him.
There's a show that airs over the air, and then there's a show that airs between me and Stacey and inside the truck. And the one that airs inside the truck is slightly better, but unairable.
So yeah, it's all fun and games, but we know that the people in this industry can have very sensitive feelings and huge egos at times. Without naming names, Marc Brady, did you ever have a run-in with a talent that you just could not get past, or that you tried to sell somebody an idea and they reacted hostilely towards?
Nah, because the good thing about it, when you're laid back, the one time I do snap usually has an effect. So I've never really had to, you know what I mean? Like, I don't usually snap, but if I snap, it's probably because I had no choice. And I've been lucky. I've literally worked with legends in the game. And now I work with, like, the play-by-play guys I work with right now are Jason Benetti, Adam Amin, Mike Monaco. Those are guys like you would dream to work with. And then the color guys I work with, Steve Stone, Stacey King, JD, they're all, I haven't worked with that evil guy where you're like, Now, I won't lie to you. I didn't really like doing hockey.
Yeah.
But that wasn't really, it had nothing to do with anything other than the fact that didn't really like hockey that much.
I thought you were going to give us a Wayne Larrabee story since he's gone over to the green and gold.
You know what? I can't say anything bad about Wayne Larrabee. Me and him met up at the right spot. Like me and him, we vibe the same way. So I can't really.
No, Wayne's cool.
Wayne.
Yeah.
I can't hate on Wayne.
Yeah.
Wayne's deep.
Yeah, and Brady did hockey. You don't see a lot of black people doing hockey.
Let's do the hockey.
Yeah, yeah. So for him to slide over here and do basketball, that's what he's been wanting to do. So
you wake up in Edmonton and it's minus 35 outside.
Ooh,
you're like, yeah, good.
Ooh.
And they got 2 half times. I've never liked the 2 half times. I don't get that. So
yeah, see,
Stacey, when I first started in Chicago, it was 1990. It was in April. And the first thing that assignment I got when I started at Channel 7, they said, we're going to send you to cover the Blackhawks in the Stanley Cup playoffs. I'm from Milwaukee, which you'd think would have a hockey team, but they don't. So not a big NHL fan. They send me to Edmonton, and you fly and you land in this airport. It's in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing to see. And you go into the city. It looks like an old Western or something, I mean, there's these old rundown buildings, and they got these coins called loonies and stuff. And I'm like, am I in a different planet? It is strange. It was definitely a culture shock trying to get used to that.
Yeah, well, I live in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Oh, Lord have mercy. You ain't seen nothing. Oh, my goodness. Oh, yeah, the Dakotas in general, North Dakota, South Dakota. Oh, Lord. America, I'm not offending anybody who lives in South Dakota, but it's not a place I would go vacation. Sorry.
But then the thing is, when I got there, and again, I didn't know the protocol, and the cameraman says to me, during the skate around, you're kind of in the bench area as media, and they go, well, just call a guy over. He'll come over. So like Marc Messier, hey, Marc Messier, I want an interview. He just skates right over, and he does 3 or 4 minutes, nice as could be. And I was a fan of hockey guys after that.
That ain't happening in basketball.
No, that ain't happening in basketball.
No. Patrick Kane would wash my car. Like, they're nice guys, nicest guys in the world. They'll change your tire for you. But they also play hockey.
That's true.
The Lady Byng trophy. Yeah, Lady Byng, and that given to the nicest guy and the most friendliest person.
Is that what you would have gone for if you were on skates, Stace?
No, seriously, I'd have been knocking people out because that would be the only way I could legally do it. Like I'd be like Ty Domi, I'd just be or Bob Probert. I just want to fight. I don't even want to have any kind of hockey skills. I just want to get in the penalty box, beat somebody up, go sit for a few minutes, and come back out there and find the guy I'd beat up and beat him up again.
Stacey King, hockey player. Somehow I'm having a tough time picturing that.
No, seriously, I would really like to kick somebody's ass. Seriously, because like you might be mad at your coach. The coach has made you, skate laps. I don't know we used to run sprints and suicides. I don't know what they do on skates, so I'm sure they do the same thing.
They still do the same thing.
Yeah, and I'd be mad. I'd be like, man, I don't want to be doing this, coach. So I'm going to take it out on somebody. So I'm going to pull a Ty Domi or Bob Probert. I'm just going, can you imagine me 6'11" out there skating, beating somebody up? Oh, man.
No, I can't imagine that.
Because they don't fight fair. See, they grab your shirt, hold your head, hold your shirt, pull you
over
down.
Over your head so you can't move your arms.
I can see one of them little dudes dude who's trying to do me like that.
It's like when you fought that one-armed girl back in Oklahoma.
Listen, you know what? You can't keep bringing that up, man. Okay, that's first of all, that's no one needs to know about it. We already talked about it in episode probably 9. Where we moved on.
It's
Mark.
a classic,
Mark.
though.
We moved on, and you keep bringing it up. It's a memory I try to forget. I had someone bring that up to me a couple weeks ago. Hey, man, did you really get beat up by the one-armed girl? I said, hey, look, man.
It's the only fight you lost.
I said that's the only fight I lost. I'm 101-1. Okay,
she's a guest next week.
She's a guest.
We found her.
They found the one-armed girl. Oh, she was playing cornhole. She's a cornhole champion in Oklahoma. See how we get off track.
Forget the fugitive. Stacy's got his own story.
See how we get off track, Brady. This is what I got to deal with right here. The attacks.
What Brady's trying to say is hockey's a lot like women.
What's that? What's that, Whispers?
Just not interesting when people take a shower after 2 periods.
Wow. Oh, my God. Okay. All right. We just lost 5 sponsors. We just lost 5 sponsors because of Whispers. America, you have to excuse Whispers. Some of the things that come out of his mouth is not scripted. These things just pop out. Can we edit that out?
I think we're going to have to try.
Yeah, I'm going to try to get that out. Okay. Oh, my gosh.
That sent the hat backwards on Marc Brady.
I thought Mark enjoyed it.
Yeah. So, Mark, tell us what it was like working with Johnny Red Kirk. Because, like I tell people all the time, it's always hard to replace the guy. Like I wasn't really like didn't really want to do that, and the opportunity presented itself to work in that 3-man booth. But you worked with Johnny for a long time, so tell listeners how what the experience was working with the legend Johnny Red Kirk.
I've never worked like Johnny comes from an era where being a homer was like Johnny was be ready to jump over the table to curse out the ref. Like the Bulls, I don't think during that era ever had a good call against them. Like every foul was like, oh my God, I mean, I learned most of the refs' names because of Johnny Kerr crying and screaming about how a ref was just awful. But Johnny, all that being said, I mean, he went to Tilden High School, Illinois. He went to the University of Illinois. He was a legend and way more comical than you would ever believe. Like a pretty funny guy, a funny guy. And he was the 15th member or the 16th member of that Chicago Bulls championship team.
Yeah, no question about that. Hey, speaking of Bulls teams, what do you think about this squad? I mean, they've kind of come out of the gates like a house of fire. DeMar DeRozan playing at an elite level. And the city of Chicago is getting behind them really quick. Part of that's because the Bears are bad and the Blackhawks have got all kinds of issues right now. But legit, this is a really good team that is going to be interesting to watch throughout the season. How does that impact you as a producer? I mean, are the things you want to do to
make my job tremendously easier? My job right now, I can throw a dart at the wall and I hit a story. Like it's especially not to throw dirt on teams of the past, but the last 2 years trying to develop stories that aren't stories.
Yeah.
And now it's what do we want to talk about? Who do we leave out of tonight? Who do I come back? Like I'm planning on games like the West Coast trip we're going on. I'm thinking about that right now. And I won't lie to you, the last couple of years I was going game to game because it just wasn't that kind of thing you planned ahead.
Right.
And this is like, for me personally, this is the kind of team I like. I like a 6 where everybody's between 6'6" and 6'8". Dudes are running up and down the court, and it's dunks, it's blocks, it's steals, it's fun basketball. And for me, thus far, this is the most fun I've had doing basketball, doing any sport. I love that. Can they be this good? Like this, it just makes my job so much easier. And with us traveling right now, the last year was completely different. And now we feel like we're kind of like part of the team that we're traveling. So you feel like you're having more invested.
Stacey wants his telestrator back, though, and his poster machine.
Yeah, I need my poster machine back. I need my telestrator back. And, Mark, we've had this discussion. And I don't hold you responsible for any of this. It's the powers that be.
It's above my pay grade.
Yes, and I'm gonna have to make a few phone calls, and we need to get that back. We need to get it back as soon as possible. It's going to happen.
I promise you it will happen. It will happen before the trade deadline.
Wow.
That's a long time.
That's a long freaking time. Wow. Wow. See, America, all our listeners, all the people who are petitioning for the poster machine, y'all heard this.
Coming soon.
Yeah, it's coming soon, like in 2022.
I'm thinking Saturday.
Oh, nice.
Okay, I hope so, man, because I feel. Yeah, I feel.
Breaking news.
Because I feel, honestly, I feel naked without it. Like, that is like a part of me. I've been doing it for 16 years, and I just feel like just like your right arm, you feel like you don't have it. And there's so many teaching moments, especially when you have a good team. See, when you have a good team, there's so many moments that are teaching moments to show people how a guy got open or how defenses are playing, both Zach and DeMar now, compared to last year when Zach was by himself and the whole team, 4 people are running at him, So you're missing so many, opportunities to show the game, especially to people who don't know the game, like the grandmothers who don't know the intricacies of the game, like what's a 1-3 pick and roll and stuff like that. So those things are so important, and I'm pretty good at it. I'm probably, I'm not toot my own horn, Hong Kong. I'm one of the best on the telestrator. And then with all the little added stuff that my man, Mark Harper puts on there, the autographs and the dunk machines and stuff like that. Because I remember back in 2005, 2006, I used to do it by hand. I used to just scribble names, and people go, "Oh my God, he got an autograph!" And really, it was me just making a name. and then it just didn't seem right. So I said, "Man, it'd be pretty nice if we can get the players to do that."
Actual autograph.
And I think we were one of the first teams to do that. Like, we were the first group to use Fingerworks. I was the first analyst to use Fingerworks, and then all of a sudden people started, catching on, like, oh, that's pretty catchy, and then they started doing it too, and so we're trendsetters here in Chicago. We've always been trendsetters, and it goes with the nicknames and the catchphrases and just the way we do games and how people watch the presentation. We're trendsetters.
I think that maybe the best way, I know how we can make that telestrator happen, if maybe we had a sponsor, like maybe a podcast sponsor.
Yes, you know what? Hey, we were looking into that. Of course, they have to allow us to do it. They have to allow us to put our name on it. Because we're like Nipsey Hussle. We're selling out of the back of our truck. But we become so big now, Mark. We're so big now. We're a name out there. We're one of the best podcasts in Chicago. And so now, we're moving and shaking. So now we might have to revisit that, and then hopefully they give us a fair price. You know what I'm saying? They give us a fair price. I may have to negotiate that in my contract because coming up.
We'll give you the player discount. We give you the player discount.
Yeah, they should. They should.
Okay, so before I go, I don't know when I'm going, but I want to make sure we talk about the night Stacy broadcast baseball.
Oh. Go ahead,
I was producing that game.
Yeah, 2-hour rain delay. He loved every second of it.
I loved every second. Go ahead, Brady. Tell about it.
I'm going to tell you all about the energy. Stacy came in that building with energy at 6 o'clock. He was ready to go. and then we were ready to go on the air. We're ready to go. And it starts to rain. And I don't know if you ever seen like the energy, like you're playing a video game and the energy level is all of a sudden his energy level started going down. Yeah. Then he made a phone call. He ordered some food.
He tried,
and unfortunately the driver was terrified to get out of his car and kept going around in circles. So his energy level dipped a little bit more.
Yep.
And then they decided they wanted to start the game. And right at that point, Stacey's energy level was flat.
Flatline.
So the first inning starts and Stacey's doing the game and he's like this. That was a nice pitch. And I turn and I look at Tamara and I'm like, is it just me or is Stacey whispering? And I'm like, I said, all right. Because I tried to be professional about it. I don't ever try to come in and like, hey, you don't sound right. So what I said to Stacey is, you doing your golf voice, bro. And literally the look on his face, because I could see it, and he just starts laughing. And the rest of the game was we had a ball. But that first inning, when it was 9 o'clock, it was 9:05, I think. It was like 1 out in the first inning, and Stacey looked at that clock, and he was like, "What have I got myself?" And you could hear it in his voice. You could hear it in his voice.
Listen, America. I was a crossover, and I slid on over into the seat, of Steve Stone. And I thought it was going to be a quick game. I thought it was going to be a fun game.
That never happens.
Because the Sox were rolling at that time. Yeah. They were playing really well. And there was no offense. They had some errors. And then, it was just the rain delay kind of zapped me.
And you're thinking, I'll get back home about 3:30 in the morning.
Oh, I got home like 2:30. Like I was sitting I was driving. I had a driver, America, because I don't drive that late. So I had a driver take me back home. And I was just like, I cannot believe this game took this long.
Oh, yeah.
It was supposed to start like 6 o'clock.
There's no clock in baseball.
It was almost like if you wanted to teach somebody how lucky they are.
Yeah.
But you're doing basketball.
We put him on the other side. And he saw that grass, and he was like, "Nah, this grass is brown."
Yeah. And you know what? And I got good reviews. People love me. And you know what? They said, "Oh, you got to do another game." I said, "The only way I'll do another game is it's a day game, like 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Day game in San Diego.
No
San
chance of rain. Los Angeles, somewhere like that. I'll do it. I would even do it. I would do it in Chicago. I would do it in Chicago because I would really like to be at the game.
Yeah.
Because we did basketball last year with COVID, and we didn't actually get to go to the games. And at home we were, but there was no crowd there. And it's so much better. And Brady will tell you, it's so much better now, with the fans being there, the energy's there. Even if I come to the game, tired, mentally tired. As soon as that red light comes on, man, I just get energized. In the crowd, the noise and everything. I mean, it's an amazing transformation, compared to, last year when it was like, we'd go to Channel 5. And it was really cool because, America doesn't know what we were doing behind the scenes. It was so nonchalant there. Like, you would see, I'm going to give you a little secret what we were doing. Okay, so we go to WMAQ?
Yeah.
Okay, so we go there, and me and Adam, we would be dressed from the waist up in a suit and tie. But waist down, we could be in pajama bottoms, we could be in shorts. It didn't matter. You didn't see us, and it was so easy to get in and get out, and it was just we had so much fun, But you miss being at the games. I did not know how important it was to actually be on the floor, to listen to the calls of the referees, the bouncing of the ball, what the players are saying. When you're not out there, you can't hear any of that. You can't even hear the ball bouncing. So it was very frustrating. So I was so happy this year when we got the fans back in the arena and the energy levels back, and we're having fun and we're winning. That's the whole key. We're winning. We got a good basketball team.
It was just the other day. Stacey showed up. He had a long day, and I saw him in the hallway. He looked a little rough, and this was probably about 20 minutes before air. And I'm like, "Oh, this is gonna be rough." And I swear to God, we go 3, 2, 1. You would not have known a thing. It's like. It was like his little Incredible Hulk moment where he turns green and everything's okay.
That was true because Adam made a comment too. Y'all was all worried about it. Like, we're going to have to, because I'm a one-take guy. Like you never have to take 2 takes. Yeah. I'm like a one-take guy. So they just knew, we're going to probably have to do a take. We're getting close to the hour. Are we going to be able to get in? Man, as soon as that light came on, like DeRozan and Zach are professional scorers. I'm a professional analyst, okay?
Mark, it's like your voice in the podcast. As soon as he hears it, he's on.
Yeah.
Was that the week you were moving?
Yeah, I was moving and then like trying to get, I couldn't find my suits. I couldn't find, it was like Easter egg hunting in my house. The movers had, and hey, shout out to Corrigan. They did a great job of moving me out there, but I couldn't find any of my clothes. It's mix and match. And I'm like, man, so the pressure of that and anxiety of moving into a house at that time, that was probably the worst time to be moving in someplace. I should have moved in earlier. Hindsight's 2020.
Yeah.
Next time I move, it'll be a time where the season hadn't started yet. You know what I'm saying? But I got there, like I said, I'm a professional analyst, and I can come in there with 2 seconds left to go before the red light comes on, and I could be frazzled, and I will do it to a T. I'm a professional analyst. Oh, there you go. Oh, that's a DJ Power right there, man. Nice. Way to go.
The professional's professional.
Yes.
Nice.
Marc Brady, thank you so much for joining us on Gimme the Hot Sauce. Continued success over at NBC Sports Chicago. It's going to be a fun bowl season, and you and Stacey and Adam are going to have a great time.
We need Brady, I'm going to throw this out here to you, Brady. Okay, we need to get us an Emmy, man. I mean, we put some world-class material out there. I don't know.
No pressure.
We need to get us an Emmy. We need to get us an Emmy, man. So let's just
I think
throw
that's
that
coming
there.
for you guys.
Well, you know what?
Hold on. He didn't say win one. He said get one. I can do that for sure.
We're gonna get one. So we need. Sometimes you need people in your corner to push it through. We got to have somebody backing us. The eye in the sky.
There you go.
Back us out there. So let's get us one, Brady.
All right, Mark. Have a great time on that West Coast trip coming up, and we'll look forward to talking to you again. Marc Brady, our special guest on Gimme the Hot Sauce. Hey, we're back. Episode 53 of Gimme the Hot Sauce. We know who's Michael Jackson in this group. Stacey King.
Yes, I'm glad you recognize that, Mark.
I saw you were upset over the Tuesday. Actually, was when the college football rankings came out. The first one. How could an undefeated Oklahoma team be 8th?
Oh man, come on! Listen, America. I know I'm a homer for my Sooners, okay, but what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong.
Yes.
Okay. If you got one loss, I don't care what the strength of schedule. I don't care. Alabama, I'll give you Alabama because Alabama arguably is the second best team in the country behind Georgia. Could be number one.
Texas A&M.
Okay, but they're still. If you put Alabama on the field against Texas A&M on a neutral field, they mop them up. Okay, let's just be real. If they're in the playoff series, they beat them by 30. But those are only two teams that I say that even should be above Oklahoma. Okay? Ohio State, no. Michigan, no. Cincinnati, hell to the no.
Michigan State?
Michigan State's undefeated. Yeah. I'll give them their due.
Yeah.
I'll give them their due. I'll put them, but they're not going to stay undefeated because don't they still got to play Ohio State? They play
at Ohio State,
Yeah, well, they're not going to be undefeated after that game. And then Ohio State now will leapfrog up into the top 3 with that win. Okay, but as it starts now, the first poll, that's a bunch of bullshit. Seriously. Oklahoma undefeated. I understand there's a couple of games, that they probably shouldn't have won. It was a lot harder. But listen, since they made the quarterback change with Caleb Williams over Spencer Rattler, that was the best thing Lincoln Riley did. Now they look like a powerhouse team. They can put up 30, 40 points on you. Their defense is still suspect, but it doesn't, hide the fact that they're 8-0, 9-0 right now, and they should be in the top 4.
Yeah, I agree. No question about it. Do you think the committee did Cincinnati wrong? They checked in at 6. They're second in the AP and the coaches poll. Now, they beat Notre Dame, but the rest of their schedule is pretty weak. What do you think about where Cincinnati's at?
Cincinnati fans, you're probably not going to like what I have to say.
They got crappy chili in Cincinnati, too.
You know what? That was Mark Shanowski. I didn't say anything about y'all's chili, okay? So if I go to a restaurant in Cincinnati, don't poison my food. You get Mark Shanowski, okay?
Skyline chili.
Skyline chili. See, he called the name out. Oh, Lord. He called the name out. Oh, my God.
I don't think they're going to be sponsoring us anytime soon.
No, way to ruin our chances there, Mark. But seriously, though, listen, Cincinnati, they're undefeated, and I give them that. But the conference they play in, I mean, I know Houston. I think Houston is 7-1, and SMU is 7-1. But neither one of those teams could beat any of the top 7 teams in the poll. And so I got to say, they beat Notre Dame. Didn't they beat them at Notre Dame?
Yeah,
that was impressive.
That was a good win.
That was impressive. That was a huge win. But let's be real. If you're going to have a college football playoff and you put them against Alabama and Georgia, what do you think they're going to do?
Not well. They get blown out.
They're going to get blown out. Yeah. So I think the voters have to really take that in consideration. Are they really a top 4 team? I know their record says it, but are they really a top 4 team? You put Cincinnati against Oklahoma. Oklahoma beats Cincinnati. They may have I have to say, Cincinnati will have a better chance against Oklahoma than they would against Georgia and Alabama. But Oklahoma still would win in a shootout. Let's say the score would be 35-34. I still think Oklahoma would win. But to not have Oklahoma in the top 4 after being undefeated, and they passed all their tests. They beat who they're supposed to beat. They beat Texas, basically at a home game in Texas in the Cotton Bowl. They still got to play Oklahoma State, which is always doesn't matter what the records are. That is a tough game. They've gone on the road and beat some teams. They probably got some wins they probably shouldn't win. They had a tough time against Kansas in Lawrence, Kansas. They were losing that game up until the fourth quarter. So that probably weighed heavy on the minds of voters. Like, maybe they're not as good as we think they are, but to have them 8th or 9th in the poll, that's a joke. I mean, if you want to put them 5th, put them 5th. But anything lower than 5th was a joke.
Well, it's all going to sort itself out because Alabama's going to play Georgia in the SEC championship game, and we'll figure out, if Alabama loses that game, they'll be out completely.
No, they won't. No, they won't, Mark. They're going to put a 2-loss Alabama team in there. Watch what I tell you.
A 2-loss Alabama team. You heard it here.
Because they're going to look at Alabama's loss to Georgia basically being a situation that you're facing the number 1 team in the country.
What if they get blown out?
Depending on how they lose. I don't see them getting blown out. Yeah. I see that game being kind of like a really tough game because both of them have very good defenses. Georgia, I'm not sold on their offense. Their defense is top notch.
Strong.
Their front 4. You don't only have to rush 4 guys with them, and everybody else can play pass coverage. That's why I think they're going to have an easier time against Alabama, is to take away something. You got to take away something from Alabama. If you allow Alabama to run the ball up the gut and get 10 yards a pop, and then the play action passes come in with their dynamic receivers, they're going to kill you. But I think Georgia's defense is the best in the country. I think they're number one defense in the country, and that's why they're beating teams the way they are, because of their defense. But let's say Georgia loses. Let's say Georgia loses an SEC championship game. The voters are going to put Georgia back in the playoff running. They're going to put. So
you've got two SEC teams. So the Big Ten is going to sort itself out because Michigan State has to go play at Ohio State. And, of course, the end of the year, it's Ohio State and Michigan. So if Ohio State wins out, there'll be one loss. Oregon, if they win out, will be one loss. And they beat Ohio State in Columbus.
Listen.
I mean, it could get pretty messy.
Listen, I always go to the eye test. This is how this is how I judge things. How does Michigan State stack up against Georgia and Alabama? Those are the two prime teams right there, because you got to be real. Those are the two best teams in college football, regardless if Alabama has one loss or not. They lost a game in Texas A&M against a very good Texas A&M team, who was a top 10 team in the country. On the road, barely lost. So those two teams are your number one and number two teams, okay? And everyone else now, you stack up and say, okay, how does Michigan State do against those two teams? I don't think very good. How does Ohio State do against those two teams? Better than I think the Michigan State. Michigan, how do they do against those teams? I don't think Michigan does well against those teams either. So, and then Michigan still got to go to Ohio State. And so that could cancel one of those teams out completely. And that's why you got to kind of let it. It's early right now. Things could change in the next couple of weeks. Cincinnati could lose a game that they're not supposed to lose, and the Sooners just keep handling their business, and we'll just, we'll do it the old-fashioned way. We'll earn our way into the top four.
Yeah, because if you've got two SEC teams, the Big Ten's going to get one team in. I don't know which one it's going to be. They'll get one, so that leaves one spot left, and you're hoping that an undefeated Oklahoma team will get that spot.
And Mark, let's be real. Let's just bring a college football playoff in. Let's just bring the top 10 or 12 teams. Let's go 12 teams. Let's give the number one and number two teams a bye in the first round, and the other 10 teams have to play. And then you can still keep your bowl system. You still have the Orange Bowl, the Rose Bowl, because that was the big argument. Oh, we'll lose the bowl system. You know what? People want to see a playoff, because you have teams that are undefeated. Like, go back to Central Florida. Was it USF that was undefeated? Scott Frost in Central Florida. UCF, yeah. They should have been in. If there was a playoff, they would have been in. They might have got blown out, but the chances of that happening because they were undefeated, people would like to see that. People in Florida would like to see that. There are teams out there that could be two-loss teams that could upset one of these teams. I would like to see a playoff. Like I said, have a 12-team playoff, just like they do in like Division 1, 1A, whatever it is, where they have 16 teams. We don't got to go 16 teams. You just go 12. And then the number one and number two team get a bye. And the other guys play, and then you keep your bowl system, the Cotton Bowl, the Rose Bowl, the Orange Bowl, the Chick-fil-A Bowl, whatever bowls you want, you still have those bowls.
The Hot Sauce Bowl.
Give me the Hot Sauce Bowl.
That's a good time to let people know.
Yeah,
Illinois against UAB. It's coming up.
Oh, Jesus. Okay, puff pass over there with him. Come on, man.
It's got to be two losing records being the Hot Sauce Bowl.
That's what we call the toilet bowl.
Yeah.
You got a 5-4 record. That's what we call a toilet bowl.
We're elevating their program because it's our hot sauce.
No, we want marquee games. Okay, that's how you. That's right. We want to market the Sriracha Bowl. We want marquee. We want Alabama in the Sriracha Bowl. We want Oklahoma in the Sriracha Bowl. We don't want.
You're mentioning Sriracha. I'm talking about our hot sauce.
Oh, we're talking about give me the hot sauce. But I'm just saying, give me the Hot Sauce Bowl. We want grade A talent there.
That's
okay?
right.
We don't want it. We're not going to sell ourselves short.
We start off on nachos and move up to steak.
Oh, Jesus. I'm done with this guy. Ever since Kendra Luss interview, I don't know what has happened to Timmy Whispers. He's no longer whispering, America. He's actually talking. And thank you for Kendra Luss, who came on last week and had Tim speaking in tongues. Basically.
It was that hot shower afterwards.
Yes, and he was sweating.
As Mark mentioned.
He was sweating, and he had to leave the show. He missed segment 3 because he had to go home and shower and put some Brute Fabergé on to get to another outing.
Karate with canoe.
Your staying power was not good. You were spent after that one segment.
Yeah. So there he was. Hey, America, he was an actual minute man. He was only on the show for 2 minutes, and he was gone. Yes.
Boy, Mark
you do the math.
A punch. No pun intended.
Hey, there's one other big national story we want to get to before we get out of here, and then Tim goes off to parts unknown.
Exactly.
The Aaron Rodgers story. We've killed Kyrie Irving. We've killed other people for the whole, not being vaccinated. And Aaron Rodgers tried to pull the wool over everybody's eyes by saying he was, quote, immunized, when in effect he wasn't. And then What he told the Packers, I'm not sure, but he's violating NFL protocols by doing press conferences without a mask. He's interacting with teammates. He's talking to players from the other side after the game. I mean, it's kind of a mess right now.
Complete reckless behavior. I mean, that was, to me, that's inexcusable because you know the protocol of the NFL. If you were strongly against taking the vaccine, then you should make that point and stand up. I don't want to take the vaccination, and I'm not going to play. Okay, take that stand, and people, whether you accept it or not, people would have to respect that. Just like with Kyrie. He's not going to, New York's not allowing him to play unless he gets vaccination, so therefore he's sitting out the season, okay, until they can work something out. Aaron Rodgers' reckless behavior, putting his teammates in danger, putting the people in front office in danger, the reporters that actually do interviews with him, other players after games when they go up and they shake hands. We were just talking, just when they played the Cardinals the other day, he's talking to Kyler Murray, and he's in his ear talking. I mean, you could have had COVID right then and there. Yeah. And then, Kyler Murray gets it. Then he passes it on to someone, and maybe someone in his family dies from it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it was uncalled for, and it's reckless behavior, and he should be fined for it. I mean, really, because, it's one thing because you don't want to do it, but to lie and say you are immunized and you really are not, and then people are approaching you like you have the shot or you've been immunized. So, they're talking to you. They're not afraid to come up to you. They're shaking your hand. They're playing golf with you on off days, hanging out, having a beer with you here and there. And with the premise that you've been vaccinated, that you're safe.
But they're playing the Chiefs.
Yeah,
is there a better way to show that you're more valuable than Jordan Love than getting COVID?
Yeah, but I don't even think that was even his mindset. I think I think he thought. I
don't know.
Here's what I think he thought, and I heard someone say this today on ESPN. I think he thought that this is not going to hit me. It's not, COVID is not going to hit me, and whether he believed it's true or not that this is COVID, I don't know, because why else would you do what you've done?
The man.
Why else would you have done what you done? Well, why not get the vaccination? Why would you lie?
And the whole thing started with their practice squad quarterback, Kurt Benkert, reported that he tested positive for COVID, and then Aaron the next day. So, the whole thing just gets and
how
crazy.
many and think about this. Devontae Adams was in the protocol a couple of weeks ago. The other receiver was in the protocol. They missed their top two receivers.
Alan Lazard, yeah.
Yes, they missed their top two receivers with COVID. And who's to say, because if you're a carrier, and you're asymptomatic, you show no symptoms. You don't even know you have it. So you could have it. You could have had it during when those guys got it because you're in the huddle with those guys. You're in meetings with those guys. Think about all the people that this is going to impact now.
Yeah, and COVID's not gone from the sports world. Our guy, Larry Markkinen, is in the health and safety protocols.
I mean, listen, just because you're vaccinated doesn't mean you can't get COVID.
Right.
So you can't have this false security. But what it does do, it combats it,
right,
where it doesn't hit you as
Symptoms
hard.
won't be as extreme.
Exactly. It's not as extreme as if you didn't have the shot. So, at the end of the day, there's, like we talk about this all the time, there's going to be people who are for it. There's going to be people against it. You can only do what's right for yourself. For me, I needed the vaccination because I'm around too many people. There's 20-some thousand people at the United Center. There's 25,000 people on the road in some of these arenas. I can't, me personally, because I've lost my brother from COVID, I've seen it work firsthand. I know it's real. Mm-hmm. So I can't put myself in a situation by not getting this vaccination, whether I believe in it or not. And I trust me, I'm just as nervous as anybody else what it's going to be, the long-term effects. What can happen in 5, 10, 15 years? Do I grow another pair of lips on my forehead?
Yeah, but you got the good stuff. It's whispers that's got to worry.
Yeah, I did get the good stuff. I did get the good stuff. Yeah,
thanks, Mark.
Yeah, but yeah, Whisper took one for the team.
Still suffering again.
Yeah. I don't know what episode that was, America, but Whispers is still here. He's still here.
Still with us.
He's still with us.
Abuse. He shoved me sideways, and I got jabbed with something else, some motor oil or something.
Motor oil.
I said, wait, Tim, let me take this spot over here. You go over here. He's like, oh, no problem. Go ahead. And he went to my station, which. Yeah. It was. I think it was tainted.
I still have a festering lump on my arm. I don't know what it is.
There were flies buzzing around the top of it and stuff.
Yeah. And they were, and the person giving the shot had that look like, yeah, we got him, and not knowing that it was meant for me. Yeah, and then
we got our control group.
Yeah, we got our control group. It's one out of every 4. He's the one out of every 4, but it was supposed to be me, and I got away. Because I told the lady that I was white. I told him when I filled out the information, when they said your race, I put white. With Stacy on it. Of course, Stacy sounds like a white person name. So I put white. And then when I got up to the desk to go get my identification card, she says, she laughs at me. She goes, oh my God, there must be a mistake here. And I knew what she was talking about. Yeah. I said, well, what was the mistake? She goes, well, it says you're white, but you're really African-American. And I said, no. I'm white. And she goes, but clearly you're not. I go, I don't remember. Let's say her name was Marianne. Marianne, just fill out the paperwork. Don't say another word.
And then I said I was Chinese, and you're like, no, he's not.
Yeah, he was gonna say uncool. Yeah, he was. That was uncool. That was a little on the racial side.
Be careful, there, whispers.
Yeah. He's dancing on that line over there. You know what I'm saying?
I'm walking on that razor's edge.
Yeah, and that's why they got him with the shot. Because
it's interesting that Stacey came up with Marianne for all the Gilligan's Island.
I know, isn't that weird?
Oh man,
yeah.
Going back to Gilligan's Island, I was really a Ginger fan, but as the years went along, the time wasn't really good to Ginger. No. Marianne looked good, even under 60s.
She aged well, yeah.
She aged really well. Ginger didn't age very well. I don't know if it was the smoking, the cigarettes, the nightlife, but on Gilligan's Island, though, woo, boy, if I'd have been on Gilligan's Island, there'd have been a lot of babies running around looking like Stacey on there. I'm just telling you right now. There'd have been Stacey Island, the Stacey King family island, because we would have had. Because think about it, you're on the island for years.
Where are you gonna go?
Where are you gonna go? Yeah. I mean, how many coconut cream pies could you eat on Gilligan? Remember they used to make coconut cream pies?
Another double entendre.
Yeah, think about that.
They would have called me the professor for a different reason.
How many coconut cream pies could you actually make? And what were the ingredients? Now you go back and look, and they always had these nice coconut cream pies with banana cream pies, and you're like, oh man, it looks so good. That's why I started eating banana cream pies when I was a kid, because I saw it on Gilligan's Island, and they had the nice meringue on there. I'm like, how are they making this stuff? You're on an island. There's no supplies there, but
it's an easy bake oven.
And what did Mr. Howell do for a living? I want to know.
Oh, Mr. Howell, he was a millionaire.
But
he had some of that lost stock you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, dang. And then Lovey, Mrs. Howell.
Maybe they were making banana cream pies back then.
And all the guest stars that came on the island, they never could get off.
Wait a minute. All the guest people came on. Yeah. They were able to get off. Yeah. But we'll send someone to help you. Yeah. And no one ever came.
No.
I'm glad you brought that up, Mark, because that is true. All the guests, because there were hundreds of guests came on Gilligan's Island, and they just mysteriously popped up on the island. They left them behind.
It's like on Star Trek when they had a different colored shirt. You knew they were dead within minutes.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Those are. I mean, there's so many.
The yellow shirt, and you're done.
Well, think about like Leave It to Beaver. When you go to Leave It to Beaver and you see how nice Miss Cleaver was so nice to everybody. It's like I never saw anybody's mom that nice when I was a kid. Their mom's like, get out of here, get off the furniture, don't throw the ball in the house, get outside. Yeah, go wash your hands, you little shit. Like, hey, Miss Johnson, like, it's just so mean. None of the moms were like Mrs. Cleaver.
But there are plenty of Eddie Haskells.
There was a lot of Eddie Haskells. I mean, I got a lot of friends who were Eddie Haskells. Like, you couldn't trust them guys. Smile in your face.
We call them Eddie Rascals.
This guy over here.
Well, the show's completely gone off the rails.
It's gone off the rails like always.
I think it's almost time to get out of here because our sound engineer Pavel has big plans tonight.
Big plans tonight.
we don't want to hold him up on that.
America.
I must break you.
Let me tell you something. Pavel's done a great job. He's been filling in the last 2 weeks. He's done an awesome job. He's a slash DJ. He's a slash comedian, and he's a slash lover.
Yeah, there you go.
The third thing I just said, basically he needs to get home quickly because
Phil Collins, he's an easy lover.
Yeah, because you know what, America? She likes it too. And Paul's going home.
And if you're watching on YouTube, you can tell by Stacey's choice of hatwear today. Salute to the Atlanta Braves, your 2021 baseball champions.
America, I just want to say I supported them from the very start. I knew they were going to win this year. And this is why I'm wearing their hat. As you notice, if you watch some of the episodes, I was sporting this hat. I had the White Sox winning too, but they got beat in the first round, so I had to dump that hat. And I jumped on the bandwagon. The Atlanta Braves. Dun, 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 dun.
Salute to the Braves.
Salute.
And their all-star first baseman, Freddie Freeman. That great clip with Anthony Rizzo where he had him in the rundown. Frederick!
Oh, man. Freddie Freeman, baby.
So salute to Freddie Freeman and the Braves. It is time to bring down the curtain on episode 53 of Gimme the Hot Sauce. Stacey, you got a message for the folks.
Yes. Drive home safely, Chicago. And wait a minute, before we go, remember, go to GimmeTheHotSauce.com and make sure you grab your bottle of hot sauce because it's going to be a very, very hot season for the Bulls. And what better way to make it even hotter.
It's getting cold, so it's time to heat things up.
You got to get the hot sauce. Woo! And she'll like it too.
Great job, Pablo. We appreciate it. We'll see you next week with a brand new edition of the show.